Hey y'all, have you ever thought to yourself, it takes way too much to stay healthy? Like you're drinking water, you're eating protein, you're doing the exercise, and now you have to worry about stopping the leaks? Well, number one, you're not alone, but also in today's video, I'm going to tell you why those habits matter more than the exercises that you're doing. I'm going to reveal the three things you need to be prioritizing if you want to stop the leaks. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way. I know you're probably thinking, did she just say the habits matter more than the exercises? Yes, actually, I did. So, of course, the exercises matter. Of course, you need a carefully crafted plan to really get to the root cause of why you're leaking. But that's actually not what's most important. The habits are what support your body, the habits are the foundation in which those exercises can be built on. So, if your habits are a little shaky, you're not quite sure what to eat or drink to nourish your body, you're not regularly moving your body, don't really have a sleep routine, and those things are shaky or that foundation is shaky, then it's going to be much harder to stop the leaks. The habits are what you want to really drive into when things are thrown off, when stress levels are high, when you've fallen off the wagon of doing your exercises, which does happen. The habits are what we want to lean into because, again, that's what helps support your pelvic floor so that it can do what it's designed to do. All right, so let's stop and talk about the pitfalls or the plateau that happens after the honeymoon phase, that I like to call it. So, the honeymoon phase is like this initial introduction. You know, you've made some changes in your diet, the exercises you feel pretty confident about, the leaks have stopped significantly. And so, you're really excited about this journey. You're doing all the things that have been recommended for you to do to help yourself. But then there comes this time where those gains don't seem as large. It feels like you've kind of plateaued. You're not seeing these big changes anymore. And that's where the doubt starts to kick in. And this can happen for a lot of women. And so that's where I like to say that honeymoon phase in the beginning of like where it feels like everything is working is over. And then you kind of hit this stop. And so this is interesting because progress is not linear, healing is not linear. So there may be some up and downs in your journey to stop leakage. But when you hit that plateau, that's where the habits kick in. That's where, again, you lean into that foundation of what are those small little habits that you need to either readjust or take a deeper look into, because that's what's going to support your pelvic floor. Exercises can be modified, they can be changed, they can be made more challenging, but the habits are really the core of, again, what supports your pelvic floor. Because let's face it, progress is not linear, and neither is life. So again, there are going to be times where things in your life change. Maybe the time you had at the beginning of your journey to dedicate to some of these exercises has changed, dipped, or become less. And so this is where those habits need to be modified. But again, this is where those habits really start to work and they really start to support your pelvic floor no matter what exercises you're doing. So I can't say that enough. That is really the bread and butter of stopping leakage, which I'll get into what those habits are next. All right, so what are the habits that you need to prioritize? There's actually three that I'm going to be sharing in today's video. And these are the things that you want to be rooted in to really support your pelvic floor no matter what else is going on in your life. And so I have another YouTube video that talks about the one thing that stops leakage, because I'm often asked that, what do I need to do? What is the one thing? And I'll put the link to that in that video in the description. But in that video, I discuss there is no one thing. There's several things that we need to be doing. But in today's video, I'm going to add to that and actually tell you the three things that you need to be prioritizing in addition to the exercises that you're doing that are actually going to help to stop and keep those leaks from coming back. Number one is prioritizing sleep. And so if you follow me, you have heard this a million times before. I don't think I'm ever going to get off of this uh I don't want to say high horse. I don't think I'm ever going to get off of this topic because sleep is just that important. Sleep is where our body recovers. Sleep is where our body repairs and rebuilds itself. That is where everything is regenerating for our muscles and for our body. And if you're not getting enough sleep, which most women aren't, like statistically speaking, over half of women are not getting good quality sleep or enough hours every night. And so so it's no wonder that some of those same women also have the correlation of having urine leakage. So sleep is just something that you cannot miss. Sleep is something that you cannot bypass no matter what exercises you're doing, what your workout plan is. Those exercises is almost like counterproductive. They are not going to be effective in stopping the leakage if you're not getting enough rest at night. And so when we look at the word prioritize, that means that you're making that the most important thing. That means that you are not scrolling, you're not going to bed late so you can have that mommy time or that one-on-one mommy time. I know I used to do that and have been guilty of that for sure. It kind of feels like, okay, if all the kids are asleep and I have a few hours late at night to do what I want to do, I'm going to be better for it. But actually, when you're sacrificing your sleep, you're not better for it. And your pelvic floor is not better for it. So this is specific to those of you that are leaking. Prioritizing sleep is probably the number one habit that, needs to be a part of your recovery plan for sure. All right. So the second thing or second habit that you need to form or prioritizing is making time for movement. So our pelvic floor loves movement. Our pelvic floor activates when we move. And so this means being very intentional about how you move your body. So this is the 3 walks you take a week. This is the walks you may take on your lunch break. This is the cardio that you make sure is built in the HIIT training that you're doing throughout the week just to keep your body moving. This is super important because if you're not prioritizing or intentional about doing these things, they're just not going to happen. So there has to be a plan because that supports your pelvic floor. So if you're only focusing just on doing pelvic floor exercises, but you're not doing anything else to move your body, that could be a major reason why the leaks haven't stopped. So again, prioritizing that movement and making that a part of your well-being. This is a lifelong journey. These are not things that we're going to just stick to for a little bit. That's why it's so important to establish habits. Habits are things that you just do no matter what, because it really supports not only your overall well-being, but definitely your pelvic floor health. So that's my number 2. And that's a big one, is prioritizing how often and what types of movement that you do for your body. All right. So the third thing that needs to be prioritized is building in rest and recovery. And so this one they're all important, but this one is important because I find with my clients, this is usually the area we need to tap into more when everything else seems like it's going correctly, but the leaks just still, what we're doing isn't moving the needle. So I hope you can start to see where all of this is connected, because rest and recovery is setting aside intentional time for your body to let go, to have some form of release. Rest and recovery can look like active recovery days, things like walking, swimming, cycling, deep stretches. For some women, their yoga practice kind of lies in this category. Those are things that you want to do for rest and recovery, because our body needs that release. And so what I meant earlier, I think I skipped over like how this is connected, is that sleep, like I mentioned as the first priority, a lot of recovery happens during sleep. So sleep is actually a part of rest and recovery. And so if you're not sleeping, you're probably not recovering. And if you're not sleeping, your muscles aren't functioning properly, and you're probably going to bed later and still leaking. So those two things are not just totally separate. They're a part, again, of the whole plan that you need to stop leakage. And so earlier when I said that this is where a lot of people need to tap into, is that this should be a part of, like, again, how you take care of yourself. Your stress management plan doesn't kick in only during times of high stress. Your stress management and recovery plan kicks in regularly. Like I mentioned, these are the things that you're just doing to keep yourself well. And your pelvic floor benefits because of that. And so, again, when I mentioned earlier that progress is not linear, life is not linear, when you already have these things established, when things in your life shift, you can kind of pull back on the things that are not, I don't want to say not as important, but you can maybe not pull back is the right word. You can tap more into the things that are going to give you that release and recover. This release is not always physical. Journaling is something that I often recommend to a lot of my clients because that is also a form of emotional release. A lot of times we have a lot of emotions held in our body that are taking up space that can create physical tension and physical problems. So journaling is a part of that. And I'll just share a quick story. Journaling doesn't always have to be, dear diary, this is what I did today. That's not necessarily journaling because I know a lot of people are kind of, or I won't say a lot, but there are people who are turned off with journaling because they're like, I don't know what to write. But there are prompts, that you can give, like, how was your day today? What are the things that worried you today? What are the things that you're looking forward to? It doesn't always have to be this long narrative. Sometimes it's just maybe even listing out the things that you're worried about so that you can get it out. That is a form of recovery. That is a form of release. And that does help to support your pelvic floor. So again, if that's not part of your plan and you're only focusing on just very specific pelvic floor exercises, that could be a major reason why you're still leaking. And lastly, I'll add, these are my top 3 priorities. There are more, but these are the ones that if I had to tease out and someone wanted to know, like, what should I really focus on? What can I get started on today? These would be the 3: sleep, prioritizing movement, and building in time for rest and recovery. All right. So I hope that these 3 things that you need to prioritize sheds a light on where to put your energy. There's a lot of things out here. There's a lot of different exercises that you can search on Google or find on Instagram. But these are the 3 things that no matter what your exercise plan looks like, need to be a part of your plan to stop leakage. So as always, I enjoy my time with you guys. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future videos. And also share with a friend. I know you know someone who needs to hear this. Thanks again. See you next time.